I will put it on YouTube. I will send you guys a link. It may take me into the weekend to do that. This is webinar number 3 out of 6 today, and I've got 2 more tomorrow. So I've been living, eating, drinking, sleeping, and even dreaming about Zoom. I had a Zoom dream last night, ladies and gentlemen, and the good news is it wasn't a nightmare. So it was a good Zoom dream. But we're going to talk about a lot of features. I'll take you through the entire program. And again, I'm going to post this so you're going to be able to get into it later on and see it again. First, I want to talk about Zoom itself and how the Zoom platform works. You guys, if you signed up with Zoom for a free account, what's called a basic account, you would have been given a 40-minute time limit and 100 people in a chat at a time. That's if you signed up on their website for it. Now, I used that account for probably 2 years with Florida Southern College. I'm an adjunct professor there, and I teach online classes. But I, like many of you, are like, well, I need to have a connection with the students. I can't just send them emails. I need to have a connection. And so my wife found this program with what she was doing, and then I started using it, and it was great, except I had a 40-minute time limit. So I had to either make sure my lesson was 40 minutes or less, or I had to do a second chat right after it. So I'd do one, it would close us, I'd do another one, and then keep doing that as I did that. Luckily for me, Florida Southern has access to this, and they bought me a pro account, so I have no time limits, and I can put 300 in a chat, which is why you guys are in here at 148 right now. What Zoom has done for school districts, they have allowed us to waive the time. So you still have a 100 people limit, but if you log in the way I'm going to show you today, the time limit will be lifted, and so you can hold chats for longer than 40 minutes. That's going to be very important if you want to do something like office hours, where you're available for students to pop on and off for help if they need help with something. So things like that are going to be really important for you. Number 2, I want you to write down this term, FERPA, F-E-R-P-A. It's an acronym. If you don't know it, it's the Rights and Privacy Act, specifically in our case for students. If you choose, even though the district recommends you turn off student videos, if you choose to turn them on, because I understand, guys, you want to connect with the students. I get it. Last night I have 13 in my class at HCC, and I'm like, guys, turn your video on. I don't care what you look like or what you're doing. I want to see what you're looking at so we can have a conversation together. I get that, ladies and gentlemen. I really do. If you choose to record a lesson, though, that you're going to post and the students are on with you, and I'll tell you a couple ways you can do it without students, make sure the video is off for students when you go to post it. So there's a way to turn the video off, and I'll show you that feature. But there's a lot of things we're going to talk about next hour that can help you. Just keep that at the forefront of your mind. And I want to tell you, you guys are probably, I don't know, the 15th or 16th webinar I've done this week. Probably more than that, Alice. I lost count, I think. But anyway, everyone keeps emailing me and says, Scott, what did you say again about student videos? Talk to your principal. They were given a memo with a recommendation to have videos off. Okay? You're a professional. You got to do what's right for you and your kids. And I understand you want to see their faces, especially you elementary folks. So that connection is so huge for those kids. Some of you, your middle school hormonal kids, that's important too. High schoolers, that may be important for some of them too. But figure out what works best for you and then go with that piece. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to share with you my screen. I'm going to take you through a series of things, first the website, and then a series of screenshots showing you what my view looks like. Right now, I am the host, and you are participants. So when you do this on your own, you're going to be the host, and your students will be participants, or your colleagues will be participants. So you guys have a slightly different view from me, and therefore I'm going to make sure I show you every view I have, so it's not something that you're like, oh, I didn't see that piece. I didn't know that was coming. So first and foremost, we start out at the Clever website, clever.com. I'm going to log into Clever, and they added this nice new feature yesterday about the reminders about logging in through the Active Directory. And as a reminder, when you guys log in, it's your Lawson number at hcps.net, Lawson number at hcps.net, and then your district password. So if you ever change your district password, it'll change for this as well. I'm going to click sign in. I'm going to go in as a teacher, so mine looks like yours does and not my district admin one. And what you're going to see here is your Clever dashboard. This is your Clever dashboard where you can kind of launch from. You have a favorite section up here. Now, last year in the spring, I taught 5th grade part-time at James Elementary School, helping out our achievement schools. And so I favorited things like Khan Academy, iReady, Common Lit, things I knew I was going to use often with my students. This spring, I've done this one. I did Zoom because I want to hear where I can get to it very easily. If you have nothing in your favorites right now, it's because you haven't favored anything. But if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of your Clever dashboard, here's Zoom waiting for you. And all you got to do is click on that little heart, and it will go up there in your favorites. Now, notice my brain pop doesn't have a red heart. It's got a hollow heart because I haven't favored it. It's not at the top. I'm not using brain pop this year. I don't think you guys came on here to see a brain pop video, did you? By the way, I think I'm funny. Whether you think I'm funny or not, you can laugh anyway. It's okay. And we're going to have a good time together. All right, in the middle of your screen is this e-learning for school closure. This is where your content administrators, your content supervisors are constantly giving you new resources, new lesson plans, new ideas, new things to use with your students in an online format. So you definitely want to check back here at least every day or a couple of days because like I said, I've seen them change on a daily basis. Yesterday, PK was over here. And the day before that, I didn't have a 912. So, you know, they keep adding stuff in here for you guys to use. To get to Zoom, all you do is click on the Zoom link here. It will take you to the Zoom website and your Zoom dashboard. Now, if you've done this before, then you'll come right to this page. If you haven't done this before, you may get a prompt, or you may get an email prompted, and they say this: do you want to merge your account with either Troy Suarez or HCPS? Whichever one you get, Troy Suarez, HCPS, the answer is yes. Troy is our supervisor of instructional technology. His job was to get us this access. And by using your school district email, first name dot last name at SDHC, blah, 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 you get that unlimited time limit. So you notice it says it up here. Zoom has removed the 40-minute time limit. You still have the 100 people, but you know, you can do smaller classes. And by the way, my son teaches chemistry over at Newsom High School. He's been playing around with his kids. He tried one the other day with all of his regular kids. And he said it didn't go well. He said, I'm going to do it separate periods now because 60 of them on at one time just did not work well. So you got to think about what works right for you, what works right for your kids. There are 3 things I want to show you on this website that are really important to you. The first one is the Meetings tab. I'm going to click on the Meetings tab, and you can see I've set up several meetings coming up all on Sunday. I'm going to be very busy if I don't delete these meetings. I will delete them, trust me. But to schedule a meeting, you click on Schedule New Meeting. You type in your meeting title. This is my fake meeting number 8. Go ahead and laugh at me. It's fine. I'm going to set up the date as Sunday. We're going to make it for 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm going to make it for 2 hours. Now, of these three things, hang on one second. Somebody said they can't get in. So I just sent them that link. The date is the most important one. Date is the most important one. The times are only for calendaring purposes. For example, our chat was set for 1 o'clock today, but Alice and I were on at 12:45 and having a conversation. So I can open it up early if I want to. This is merely for calendaring purposes, but the date is important. Time zone, we don't change that. We're in Eastern time zone. At least last time I checked. I don't know. I've been home so long, I can't remember. There you go. Thank you for the smile. I appreciate it. Recurring meeting. Let's say, for me, this one is useless because I have different groups in every meeting. So like I've had 3 different groups so far today and a 4th one come up at 3 o'clock. It would be stupid for me to do this because the same people might come on the same meeting and then I'd have more than my 300 person limit. This is if you want to have that standing office hours. Let's say you want to have office hours from 1 to 2 p.m. every day where your students can pop in and pop off and ask you questions. That's where the recurring meeting would come in. You'd set it up for, let's say, Monday the 30th at 1 p.m. and you click recurring meeting. Then it would give you options to do it every day, every weekday, every week, however you want it to be. If you want your first period class to be at 9:30, secondary teachers, if you want your math time to be at 9 o'clock, elementary teachers, you can do that and set it up as a recurring meeting so it appears every day. The benefit of that is you don't have to keep sending out different links. The same link you sent out the one time will work for all those meetings. So like today, I have the 4 during the regular day, and then we have 2 in the evening. I've had to send out 6 different links. Whoa. So you don't have to do that if you use recurring meeting. Meeting ID, I leave it to generate automatically, so it gives me a new one every time. I've seen too many things going on with people using their own personal ID, the same one every time. I would not do that. I would do meeting ID, generate automatically. Password, I would include the password, and here's why. This morning, my wife showed me something. It wasn't in Florida, but it was somewhere else, and we had a video showing that some hacker got into a Zoom meeting. They got into the Zoom meeting and started showing inappropriate stuff like porn and things like that, which is inappropriate. It wasn't a student. It wasn't an employee. It was just a random hacker. And so this ID here, meeting required password, will prevent that from happening as often because that will make sure that they have to have two things to get in, not just the meeting ID and the password. I'll come back to that again in just a minute. Next thing is host video. Video host, that's an important thing because you can set this setting ahead of time. You can set this setting ahead of time. So for example, today I turned on host video and participant video. Now by default, it had them set as off. Okay, so I wanted to see your smiling faces, so I did this today. Now, if I were doing this with students and knew I was recording, didn't want their faces on, I would turn it off right now, and that would mean that students could not turn their cameras on no matter what. However, I get it. Some of you may want to see their faces for a little while. There is a feature in the chat once you start that you can turn off their cameras. So I'll show you that piece as well. Audio, you want to leave it on both. Leave it on both because some people may call in. If you notice in the invite I sent you guys, there were some telephone numbers near the bottom. If you didn't have a computer access, or your internet went down, power went down, you could have called in with your telephone. How about if you've got one of those Lenovo ThinkPads I've been hearing about all week that have crummy microphones? They don't work well. Well, you can go on your computer for the video and you can dial in with your telephone to have the audio, and that's an option for you as well. Down here at the bottom, meeting options, this one right here, enable join before host. No, no, never. Don't check that box. Put an X through it. Stay away from that one. What that would have done today is you would have been able to have been in the meeting before me. And when I joined at 12:45, there were already 5 people in my waiting room. So you could have been in the meeting having a conversation ahead of me. Think of your students doing that by themselves without an adult watching. That's a bad idea. Mute participants on entry. I always check this box. That's why you guys came in already muted. I didn't have to go mute all you once you came in. Enable waiting room. There's some debate over this feature. I've been using it for my particular meetings. They're recommending you don't use it because somebody said you can talk to each other in the waiting room. I've never found a way to do that, but again, I leave this option up to you and your principal to have a conversation about. I don't use the authenticated user feature. Breakout room will talk about the one case where that may apply to you. And then recording. If you want to make sure your chat records automatically, you would click this box and it will record once you launch the chat. If you don't want to forget to record it. And again, if you're going to be doing stuff with students live, you want to record it so you have an archive of things. So I'm going to click save. It's going to bring me to my meeting summary. And notice my title of my meeting. Here's my calendaring information. Here is this meeting ID and the password. Now, here's how those hackers are joining. They're launching the Zoom app. They're typing in random codes. And if there's no password, they're getting into someone's chat. If there was a password, it would prompt for a password. The likelihood of a hacker guessing both this and this to match is very, very slim versus just guessing this one. So hence, I would use the password. Now, if you send your participants a link, most of you didn't get prompted for a password because I sent you a password embedded link, which is done by default. The password really is to protect you from getting people to come in that use just the number and not that link. Okay, here is that link, the password embedded link. Notice right here, PWD stands for password, so it's password embedded. You can copy the invitation by clicking on this link. It gives you a handy dandy invitation. You can copy it and email it to your students, put it in Edsby on the dashboard, on the feed, or anywhere else you want to get it out to your students, you can send it. Now, my advice is this. You see this part, dial by your location, everything below it? I would delete that part. You don't really need any of that. If they're going to phone in, either of these work. And then, of course, this is the link they're going to use if they come in that way. I'm going to click cancel. And notice down here, here's my meeting summary. If anything looks wrong here, I can click on edit this meeting and change it. I can also start the meeting from this page as well. When I click on my meetings to go back to all of my fake meetings, I have 9 of them now on Sunday. Wow, it's going to be a busy day. I have 2 titled the same thing too. That's crazy. But I can click on this button right here and it'll take me in to edit the meeting again. I can start it here. I can delete it here. However I want to work with it on this tab. So that's the meetings tab. The next tab I want to show you is the settings tab. Very, very important as well. I've left most of my settings here by default so you can see what they would be if you didn't touch them. So for example, if I wanted to have my video on all the time, I would click here. And that would mean every chat I start, by default, my video's on. Now it's off. So again, that's that setting you can play with. The audio type here, again, same thing. The join before host piece, again, same thing. You want to have this one off so they can't get in there before you. Scrolling a little bit further down, there's some other pieces here regarding the passwords. Here's that mute participants on entry. You can default do that one and make sure they come in that way muted. The chat feature, the private chat feature, you can actually turn the feature off automatically before you even create a chat. And by the way, the private chat is off by default too, and that's a good thing. You don't want students private chatting each other. A little bit further down, you've got an option here for a co-host. You can actually turn this feature on and have a co-host, meaning if you had a co-teacher, I invited all you guys as participants, even Alice, but I could invite you as my co-host, and then you can have the same controls I have, as opposed to just being a participant in the meeting. That's if you have a co-teacher like ESE or your two gen ed teachers co-teaching together. All right, down here, screen sharing, very important. Screen sharing here. You want to set this feature to host only and save it. By default, it gives participants the ability to share their screen. There were 2 incidents earlier on this week where students were able to share inappropriate content. And that is because the teacher had it set to all participants. If you put it on host, which is how my chat with you is set right now, none of you can share your screen, and that's an important feature. So having this set this way means that nobody can come on and share their stuff but me. And this does it for every chat. Down here, you've got this annotation piece. That's for writing on the screen. A colleague of mine earlier emailed me and said, Scott, I let my kids write on the screen and they were doing too much. Can you turn it off? Yep, here it is right here. Turn it off, and participants will not be able to do that. You may find it useful, but it could take some online classroom management to get them doing it right. Again, there's a virtual whiteboard as well, which is kind of cool. And the last thing I want to show you down here is the breakout room. And then this is one of those features you may use if you remotely want to consider it because you have a co-teacher. I'd only use it if you have a co-teacher. You need to check on here. If it's like this, you won't even have the option. But like this, you'll have the option for that purpose. And we'll talk about that and kind of how it works. There's some other controls here about cameras and things like that. You can prevent your students from recording and things like that. You can read through all of them, but those are the key ones you want to be careful of. The last thing I want to show you on the website is up here at the top under resources and download the Zoom client. If you're wondering what a client is and why I'd want that client, think of First Class Ideas, our district email. Some of you access your email through the website. You go in on Chrome or you go in on Internet Explorer or Safari and you log into the district website and log in that way. If you do that, you can check your email, that's fine. But what you may find out is you're unable to go into PDS or some other pieces of our system. And so therefore, you're going to download the First Class program called a client to be able to access the full features. You can run your Zoom chats from the website. Many of you probably logged into the website today and are doing it that way. But I'm going to tell you, if you want all the features I'm going to show you today, you need to download the Zoom client and run your meetings from the client. It's a very simple process. And when you go to start your meeting on the website, it even prompts you. It prompts you to go ahead and launch the client if you want to. So a very good way to do that. Now, there is a client as well for Android and iPhone and iPad and things like that. You can add those things in anytime you want. But if I'm hosting a meeting like I'm doing today, 95+% of the time, I like to do it on my computer. And the reason is it gives me all the functions that Zoom offers, and it gives me true multitasking. For example, I'm going to click out of our window right now into a different window to close it, and it's not going to stop me from moving or talking or anything like that. When I did this on my iPad a couple of years ago for the first time with my students, I changed screens to get a file I wanted to show them, and my face got stuck like this. The next time I got stuck like this. Because when you left the window, it froze you wherever you were. It doesn't do that on a computer. I had to learn when I used my iPad, I had to smile before it went and did that. Otherwise, I had this goofy look on my face. And you'll see some of that as we go through the process. All right, I'm going to pull you guys back in together. And now I see you guys again. You're seeing one of two views right now. You're either seeing something we call the speaker view, and I am very, very large on your screen, and you're in a small little box, okay? Or you're seeing the gallery view. If you're in the gallery view, then you see something looking like the Brady Bunch. And for me, Bale Jod, you are Alice the maid, and Gross K, you are Mrs. Brady, and Spang LT, you are Mr. Brady, and everybody else is the kids. That's what I'm seeing on my screen, this big Brady Bunch looking thing. It's much easier on the eyes. Trust me, it is. And I'm going to show you what that feature looks like right now. I'm going to share with you guys a series of screenshots. And these screenshots are going to show you the speaker view. This is that speaker view where I was out with my son the other day, and look, he's huge in my window, and I got this little box up here. All right, versus the gallery view, where here Carrie and I were together on a chat before we let people join. And then here's the one I just see now with you guys, gallery view as well. It's much more pleasing on the eyes. If you are in the speaker view and want to switch to gallery view, you will have a button up here in the top right that says gallery view. If you're on a mobile device, you may have something looking like a waffle, a little 9-square waffle. You click on that, you'll go to gallery view as well. And then it's a little bit more pleasing on the eyes. Before I go on and talk about the menus, I want to come back up here to this screenshot. This is the EDSB dashboard. And I had my wife take this one for me because I'm not a classroom teacher, so I don't have access to EDSB anymore. But this is the best place to post links for your chats to your students. Once you go into Zoom, the website, through Clever, of course, you copy that invitation, you'd paste it right in here, and notice you can post it to any number of your classes. So you can do that for one class, 2 classes, or all your classes. And then you click on share, and they would have it in their feed. The important piece about that, about having it in their feed, is to be able to go and access it anytime. You can also email the students through the link over here, and if any parents have shown up and created accounts on EDSB, you'd be able to email them as well. I'm talking to you specifically primary teachers where your parents may want to be on the first couple chats their students are on, but don't want to be on the same computer. If that's the case, you can email it to parents as well that way. So that's EDSB, the dashboard. All right. This is my view again. This is what I see when I look at our window, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you guys can see the menus. I'm going to go over all the menus at the bottom of the screen now and what they do so you have an idea. Some may look different than yours right now, but this is the presenter view from the host. So on the left here, I have 2 buttons. I have the mute button and the stop video button. That controls my audio and my video on my device only. It does not control your device. It does not affect anything you guys do, audio or video. This only refers to me and my computer or my mobile device. The invite button. This is to invite people once you started a chat. If you forgot that big long link you created, you can click on this button and get a link to send people real quick. Manage participants. This is where you can manage everybody in your chat. Right now, we are up to 160 people. This chat I took the picture on was only 91. This is the manage participants window, what it will look like for you. You're going to have lines like this. The red line, that means that they're muted. The red line to the camera means the camera is off. The circle here means I am recording. So you can actually, remember I told you if you wanted to have videos on, you chose to do that because you want to see your kids first and then you want to record. This is where you would turn off the videos. You click on each person's icon and it turns off their video, and it can't turn them back on until you allow them to do so. Screen share, that's where we share all the documents. I'm going to show you how that one works today. Chat, we're going to go over more features of the chat. You guys are using it right now, and my son Jonathan joined us as well, and he's going to answer those chats with Alice as well. Thank you, Jonathan. Recording, this is the pause and stop recording button. So if you're recording your chat, you can pause it, you can stop it. You can make 2 recordings in the chat. This is what you could do, ladies and gentlemen. You should record everything you do with your students live, just for archive purposes. Now, if you click record to record your student videos are on, you're not going to post that, you can actually stop that recording and make a second recording with their videos off. So that's an option as well if you choose that route. Again, I told you what the recommendation was, but talk to your principal. The breakout room button, that's this one here. And if you did not click that option on the website, it will not appear. Reactions are kind of like thumbs up or clap emojis. Let's say a student got a problem right and you want everyone to appreciate them, but their microphones are off. They can do a reaction like a clapping emoji to say, yay, Jonathan, or whatever. And then last but not least, the end meeting button is going to be over here on the right-hand side. Okay? I'm going to take you now through each of these menus as they come up. So what I've done for you guys is, remember, I work on a Mac, so I use that dark mode thing where everything's black in the background. This is a window shot of one of our Zoom windows. I give you both. I have both in here to allow you to see both pieces. So this first one here is the mute button and your audio settings. I saw in the big video some of you had a headset on with a microphone. If that is the case, you can set that setting in here to not use your computer microphone, but use an external one, to use the headphones and not use your speakers. For me, I'm using the one on my computer because I've got an office at home and the door is shut, and that's where I'm in doing these things. You can also test your speakers and microphone and change other audio settings as well. This next view is now going to be the video view. And I've done this one on my Mac first for you. And so when I click this up arrow next to stop video, I get 3 options. I can choose my camera. Now my computer only has 1 camera. But if you run like a tablet or a phone with more than 1 camera, you make it the choice of more than 1 camera. I can choose a virtual background. I'll show you guys in just a moment. And I can change my video settings. This is the Windows version of the same thing. Look, it's just a different color. And they've mixed up the settings a little bit. The settings are above the virtual background. Let me take you guys back here to my, my Brady Bunch, and I'm going to choose a virtual background for myself. Let's see. I'm going to go to Perth, Scotland. There we go. This is the river in Perth, Scotland. So virtual backgrounds, there are 2 things to know about virtual backgrounds. The first thing is your computer may or may not be able to handle it. It'll notify you when you try to do it. Number 2, it's one of those features you can only run in the client software. So if you're running your stuff through the website, through Google Chrome, you won't have that option. But if you go and launch the actual piece like Heidi Marie Smith did, and she's on a beach now, you would have access to those features. So again, that's number 1. Number 2, be careful to test this feature out before you use it, because if your shirt is matching your background, like this poor young lady that I had on Monday, all I saw was her head floating around because her body just disappeared, okay? Then later on Wednesday, I had this one poor lady. Her skin color was the same color as the background, and so all I saw was her hair and her shirt. All right, that was very creepy, right? Seeing no face there. So just be careful about what you do with those things and test them out ahead of time. Someone just posted, Betty, I took a picture of my classroom to use as the background. That's great. I mean, if you had that thought to do it when you were in there and no one was there, that's a great piece. For me, because I'm stuck in these 4 walls all day doing these chats this week, I have chosen a different background for every chat. So there you go. That's that piece. Let me show you how you get to the virtual background. So again, you would click this up arrow and click on Choose Virtual Background. And when you do that, you're going to get a window that looks something like this. All right, this shows my current virtual background. It shows I have a choice of none, or I can use any image that's been preloaded by Zoom itself, or I can click this little plus button right here and add images saved to my computer. So 2 things. Number 1, the images must be saved to your computer. Whether it comes from your phone, your tablet, or the internet, you must save it to your computer. Number 2, it needs to be a landscape picture. So I took this really, really great picture of Cinderella Castle one morning. I was there for extra magic hours, like nobody in front of it. You never get that. And I took a picture. It's in portrait mode. So I loaded it on here, and it turned the castle on its side. So definitely not a good picture to have. I don't want to be with a sideways castle behind me. But you can change these however you want. And depending upon your computer's status and settings, you may have to adjust and play with the settings based on what you're wearing. All right, we're going to move on now to the Manage Participants button. That's this button right here, Manage Participants. And you can see here, this is a window that I was in a chat the other day with Barb. And we had 2 people in the meeting, and we had 20 people in the waiting room. Now, in the meeting, Barb had her video off, and you can see I was recording. One of the neat things about the waiting room is I can message you guys. So if you were in there early enough, you got a message from me saying, hey, guys, welcome. I'm going to admit you in a little bit, and check your audio, and you're going to be muted. I can admit you all by clicking this one button here, but I can also admit you one at a time. So like Alice was on there early. I admitted her. We had a conversation before this one. This is our 3rd one today, right, Alice?
Yep.
Yep, 3rd one today. So there we go. So that's that feature. Down at the bottom, I also have a mute all button or an unmute all button. So if I forgot to set that setting up ahead of time, I can mute them all right here by clicking one button. They all go muted. In this next window, you will see this screen again only blown up, and I've used the More Options button. So a lot of your screens are going to have this More Option button. This one does, and it gives me a lot of settings. So here's that Mute Participants on Entry again. I can check that one, and when my participants come in the chat room, they're going to be muted. Number 2, allow participants to unmute themselves. I've turned that off for you guys. There are 158 of you in this chat. There's no way I get anything done if you were all microphone on. So I've turned that feature off for you guys. If I were doing this with my students, I would also do that. I would also not let them mute themselves. I'd turn this feature off. Play, enter, exit chime. I don't use that one. I uncheck it. If you do check it, every time someone comes in your chat, you hear a doorbell. Allow participants to rename themselves. I have it enabled for you guys. I would turn this off for students. I taught 5th to 9th grade, guys, 5th through 9th grade. And I know several of my students would rename themselves Doofus or some other inappropriate name. So definitely uncheck that for students, but you can still rename them, and I'll show you how. Lock meeting, that would be if you didn't want anyone else to join once you started. Now, that's good if you don't want to have any hackers try to come into your meeting, but if somebody gets kicked out of your meeting, they wouldn't be able to get back in unless you turn this feature off. And then finally, the waiting room here, notice I've got it turned on right now. The second I clicked admit all, I turned this off. So those of you who came in after 1 o'clock, you were automatically put into our chat. So that is the Manage Participants button. And here it is again in the Windows version. And again, looking very similar, just different colors. Next, we're going to talk about renaming yourself. So I'm going to bring you guys back to the screen. If you're on a computer, you can hover your mouse over your picture, and you can click on the 3 dots to your upper right. When you do that, you'll have an option for renaming yourself. And Heidi Marie Smith, I'm going to do yours so I can show people I have control over it. Are you Miss or Mrs.? Miss? Mrs. Mrs. Okay, got it. All right, so there we go. And now she's Mrs. Smith. So you'd want to rename yourself because you don't want your students maybe seeing your first name. You want it to show up as Mrs. or Mr., or in my case, Doctor. Whatever you want to do for you guys works for you. But if you turned off that feature where students cannot rename themselves, you can still do it. You'll have the same 3 dots in the upper right-hand corner, and I can rename anybody at any time while I'm in the chat. So you want to make sure that you don't let them do it so they don't put inappropriate names in there. Also available to you is a raise hand feature. So if you would click on the participants button, that's either at the bottom of your screen or in the top under more. Click on participants and you have a virtual raise hand option that several people have already figured out. This is a really neat feature when you have a smaller class. Of course, we have 7 pages of you, but I see Miss Gross here raised her hand. I'm going to lower your hand, Miss Gross, and unmute you. Hi, Miss Gross. How are you?
I'm good.
Thanks for being here. I'm going to remute you up that way. Okay. I can also see over here that Mal Burp is what you look up as, so I'm going to lower your hand there. Hi there. How are you?
Good. How are you today?
Not too bad. I'll mute you back there as well. And so I can do that with my students. I can lower their hand and I can let them have the floor and turn their microphone on or off. That's a real important thing. If you're going to have your students muted, they have to have a way to ask you questions without you having to always monitor the chat feature. So that hand is a really neat feature in there. This is what it looks like on my end. So when you raise your hand, I get this little hand icon in the top left-hand corner of your screen. And when I hover over it, I get the lower hand option. I'll also have a mute button here and the same 3 dots you guys had over here. So I can control you from your picture as well as the Manage Participants window. Now, if you have 20 kids, 24 kids on with you, you can probably manage the hand feature. If you have 170 people, you're not going to be able to manage that feature. The next piece is the chat window, And this is a blank chat window here that I had opened up in a chat. And then here's the one that's similar to what we had on earlier today and you guys are using right now. So notice I'm having a private chat here with Sam Weiss, but Mrs. Hickey and Mary are doing this to everyone. If you have sent me a private message so far and I have not responded, it's not because I don't like you, it's because I'm not monitoring the chat right now. And if you send it privately to me, then Jonathan and Alice can't see it, can't monitor it, can't respond to it. So what you need to do is make sure you send a message to everyone and not to me. You can set the settings for your participants. They're right here in this 3-dot icon. And notice participants can chat live with no one, the host only, everyone publicly and privately. My recommended setting is the one I have right here in front of you to check everyone publicly. That means they can message you privately and message the everyone group. If you use the chat feature, this particular piece will go ahead and save that chat as a text message, as a text file. So you have that chat saved there when you do this feature. If you do host only, they can only message you. You do not want the last one. Then if you did that one, they'd be able to message each other privately, and that's not good. That's a very bad thing for students to message each other privately in the background. So the feature I use right here is everyone publicly. Here it is again in the Windows version of it, in case you want to see the different look of it. Again, the 3-dot icon, and then again, you've got these options you can select here. All right, that's going to take us now to the share window, which is the one that's going to be probably the most useful to you. You're going to want to share documents while you're on your Zoom chat. So notice the bottom of my screen, I have a green button that says share screen. When I click on that, I get this window. This is a Windows version, and you can see I had 4 options. I can share the screen, the entire screen, a virtual whiteboard I'll show you in a few minutes, the iPhone, iPad, or an Elmo if you connect your Elmo to the computer, and then an open window. So this is a Google Chrome window I had open at the time. Here is my Mac version. Notice I'm a Mac user, a lot more things open. Here's things I could share with students in this feature. I could share a PowerPoint. I could share a Word document. I could share a PDF. I could share an Excel spreadsheet. I can share any number of documents, but there's one trick. Here it is. You want to have it open. So if you're going to share a PowerPoint, you need to open it before you go into Zoom. Then it will appear on this screen when you click on that share button. If you don't have it open, you have to go hunt for it later. So my series of screenshots here for you guys, I had open before I started. The website for Edsby and Clever, I had open ahead of time. So I was ready to go when my chat started. As far as the settings on this, you need to be aware of them. So notice when I click the up arrow next to share screen, I get 3 options. By default, it's set up this way. 1 participant at a time, and you always have control. You don't want to check this one. That would mean people can all share and take over. This one gives you control, but when you click on advanced sharing options, you get this window. Same 2 features here we talked about a moment ago, but down here at the bottom, notice I've changed mine to say only the host can share. This will prevent your students from sharing. This would prevent a potential hacker from coming in your class and sharing. So a lot of options there for you, but you definitely want to turn it to host only because you don't want students to share their screens. Okay? I'm going to go now and take you guys into the virtual whiteboard to play around with. Before I do that, I want to show you one more menu. When I pull up the virtual whiteboard, you're going to see at the top of your screen in green, you are viewing Scott Richmond's screen and a view options button, and you're going to click on annotate. So view options, annotate, and you will be able to, and somebody will figure out they can, write on my screen. So here we go. Here's the virtual whiteboard. By the way, I can write in text. I can write with a pencil. I can even put stamps out there like this is a really good high. This is a really good high over here. I can do a heart. I really like this E. You're doing a great job. The bad thing about this whiteboard is, as you can see, unless you put a sticker on like Jonathan did with his arrow showing your name, you won't know who's doing what. That's the only flaw in it. But it is a great collaboration tool. If I close this, oops, I lost everything we worked on, boys and girls. No, I didn't. As long as I haven't changed the meeting or changed the settings, it's still back there and it was there again. I do have a feature where I can save the whiteboard. I also have a feature where I can clear the whiteboard and get you guys to start again all over. So it's a neat feature. But this annotate tool, again, if you turned it off on the website, you guys wouldn't be able to do this right now. That's a setting on the website under settings. But if you want to use this with your students and you can train them how to use it properly, here's a couple of uses for it. 3rd, 4th, 5th grade teachers, you are getting ready for your writing assessment. You're so sad right now you're not giving a writing assessment in the coming weeks. I know, I can see the sad faces. But you still want to practice a opinion piece with your students. So you put an article up in a PDF format in front of the kids and you say, okay, boys and girls, I'm going to underline here and put a check plus because this is something that supports the opinion. I'm going to underline here and put a check minus because this is something that does not support the opinion. And you can write right on the document. Then you can say, okay, Miss Gross, you do number 2. Sherilyn, you do paragraph 3. Alice, you do paragraph 4. And you can have your students collaborate with you online. Math teachers, you could have a PDF of several math problems. Put it up there. Write the students' names next to them. And then they can solve it in real time with you watching. Other content areas, science, social studies, reading, you could do a reading sample where you'd have to go in and read with the kids and highlight, underline, things like that. Somebody found the highlighter down here. So again, great things you can do. Art teachers or even like social studies teachers in high school, I've seen them use political cartoons with their students. And they've done that to show them what they did back in the 20s and 30s. We don't have that today. We have memes. We have that girl with the cat, right? You've seen that thing a million times. So you could use that to show a political cartoon, and then the students can help you critique that piece. I'm going to close our whiteboard. And then what I'm going to do now, in case you've forgotten to turn off sharing by participants, I've enabled it so somebody can share. And I want you to know that I can shut them down very, very quickly when somebody shares their screen. So whoever gets their chance, share screen. Oh, there we go. Jonathan did it. And look, watch this. I can shut him down just like that. So again, it's a neat feature for you to be able to use, but I definitely recommend turning off sharing so your participants can't do it. That was the share screen button. I'm going to show it to you again. That was the share screen button. Here it is. And then I get any window I have open, plus right here, the virtual whiteboard. So share screen and whiteboard. Right now, you won't have access because I've restricted it. But when you are the host, you have full access to share information with your students, and it can be any open window that you have going on. The last feature I want to show you guys is the breakout rooms. And I'm showing you this feature more of an awareness piece, just so you know it works. The only way I would even remotely recommend you use the breakout room feature is if you have a co-teacher or like a paraprofessional you work with, another adult. So let's say Jonathan was my ESE co-teacher and we have 35 students. I could manually set up 2 breakout rooms. Room number 1 would have Jonathan and the 7 ESE students. Room number 2 would have me and the other 28 students. That way I have an adult monitoring them at all times. I would not use this without an adult monitoring them. But I want you to see it because I don't want you to stumble across it and use it and then not realize that when you're not in a breakout room with students, you can't see what's going on. You can't see what's going on. Now, for the purpose of today, there's so many of you, I'm going to assign you guys automatically and create breakout rooms. When you get into your breakout room, you're going to realize 2 things. Number 1, you're going to figure out that you can go ahead and unmute yourself. You can unmute yourself and talk. Number 2, you're going to see you have sharing features back so you can share information. Again, can you imagine putting 5 5th grade, 8th grade students, 9th grade students into a chat room by themselves and no adult and then having share features? You don't want to know what they're going to put up there. Well, you probably do know what they're going to put up there. Their parents just don't realize it, right? That's right. We know what they do, but their parents, no, my son would never do that. Yep, I get it. All right, so here you go. You're going to breakout rooms. I'll pop in a couple of them, and here you go.
Number 1.
Hello, breakout room 1.
Hi.
So you see I can pop in here, and I can see what you guys are doing, but I can't see what others are doing, so I'm going to go somewhere else now.
We're doing bad things. Bye.
Bye.
Adults, I hope you can handle it.
I could put my
Hello, breakout room 2.
I don't look very presentable.
You're good. I just wanted to say hi. I'm going somewhere else.
Everyone.
Hey, guys, breakout room number 5, I think.
6.
6. Okay, gotcha. How are you guys?
We're good.
Good. All right, I'm going somewhere else.
Well, you have nothing else to do this weekend, right?
Hello, breakout room 12.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah.
Just want to stop in and say hi. I'm going to go one other place, and I'm going to bring you guys back, okay?
This is Lynn.
Oh, breakout room 5.
My picture's gone. I don't know where it
Hey,
is.
Scott. Thanks for doing this for us.
Oh, no problem. I'm going to pull you guys back now, okay?
Right.
All right. It looks like almost everybody is back. Hello, hello, hello. So again, let me make sure I am not muted. No, I'm not muted. Great. Breakout rooms can be a good thing or a very, very bad thing. As you could see, I popped into like 5 of those breakout rooms, and I want you to realize 2 things about them. Number 1, I can't monitor the room when I'm not in it. I can't monitor when I'm not in it. My camera also does not record what I'm not in. It only records what I'm seeing. So when you watch this video, you'll see the 5 rooms I popped into. You won't see the other 7 rooms. Hence, I would only use this feature if you have a co-teacher, another adult that's going to be in the other room with the students, if you want to split them up. I can understand that happening. Like, we're going to do a morning meeting with the teachers I work with at James on Tuesday, and we may split them up into 3 groups, but there'll be each of us will be an adult in each of the rooms. So that's a feature you could use. Just so you can see what it looks like on my end when you guys were in the breakout rooms, this is the window I get. It shows I was currently in breakout room number 3. I can leave that room. I can join breakout room number 1. I can close all rooms at the same time. But again, as I said before, and I'll say it one more time, I would not use this feature unless you have another adult to monitor the other room that you might create. Last thing I want to share with you is the recording feature. And we talked about recording all of your chats. You're going to want to find them once they do. If you're recording them locally on your computer, which is what we recommend, they will save all in your documents folder under a new folder Zoom will create called Zoom. It does it by date and time. And notice it gives you 3 very important files: the audio, the chat, and then the actual Zoom video. So when I'm done, I'm going to take this Zoom video that we get from this chat, I'm going to upload it and send you guys a link. It comes as an MP4 video, so it's basically a universal video. Any device can watch it. So you could upload it to a professional YouTube channel. Like if you had a professional YouTube channel like I do, separate from my personal one, where I put all the stuff I do for the district, that would be one thing. You could put it there and get the link. Students should be able to access it at home. You could put it on Office 365. You have a OneDrive account. You could put it in there and you could use a link to send it to your students. You can actually attach it to Edsby if you wanted to. Or you could put the link in Edsby. So let's say you used my example of Office 365 or YouTube and got a link. You would then post that link right here in the feed and you would send it to whatever class period that relates to. Now, when it comes to recording, you could also record without students even there. You can actually create a chat, invite nobody, and go and do all the stuff I just did and record it. Once it's done recording, you get that file, you upload it, and you could send it to all your classes. So let's say you're a middle school teacher, you have 6 classes of Comp Science 1. You could send that same video to all your classes, and then when you did your chats with the students, you could record those for your archive purposes only, not to send out on video anywhere else. If you choose to use videos with your students, again, make sure you do not have their faces on if you're going to post it to an online forum. If you're saving it on your computer for archive purposes, different idea. I'm going to pause my chat, my video right now.